Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Rihanna Daniels-Heil, and I am part of the marketing team here at Arteco. And today we are presenting the next evolution of video and access control integration, which is presented by Steve Berkmeyer. He's Vice President of Sales and Business Development for Arteco, and Larry Reed, who is CEO of ZKAccess. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your GoToWebinar control panel. I will bring them up during the presentation, and we will also have time for questions at the end. Also, if you'd like to review this again, a recorded version of this webinar will be available on the Arteco website, and we will email you a link once that's live. Now, without further ado, we'll turn the time over to Steve, who will start out with an introduction of today's topic.
Thank you, Rihanna. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Very happy to be here today. The title of this presentation is Video Event Management and Access Control, a Converged Platform. And that's really kind of the essence of what we've done along with our partners at ZKAccess, as far as really trying to make this the look and the feel of using a common platform when it comes to video event management software and access control. So what I want to do is just kind of start with a brief overview of Arteco, just a little bit of background on what we are and what we do. For those of you who might be new to us, maybe came in on the ZK side, or just interested in hearing more about us. And then I'm going to turn it over to Larry, who will go into a ZK portion. And then you'll hear back from me towards the end when we'll actually go through the converged platform. So just real quick, here, a little bit of echo there. 1 second. Okay. So once again, my name is Steve Berkmeyer. I'm VP of Sales and Business Development for Arteco. There's my contact information. Please reach out and contact me if you have any questions or you want to learn more or you would like a private demo. We're always available. Arteco is a global company. We have distribution throughout the world. So for those of you who might be joining us from other parts of the world, welcome. Arteco's been in business. We're proud to say this is our 30th year of being in business. So we started in 1987 in industrial automation. So we were developing machine vision applications for industrial automation. Right around the early 2000s, we looked for different commercial applications, and that's when we really got into video security with this concept of intelligent video that a lot of you, I'm sure, are familiar with and still flourishing today with video analytics. Where Arteco is different is we are event focused. So, kind of the center point of that is our mapping interface, which is a real-time interactive location where we can aggregate events from many different types of alarms. Video is not just enough anymore. It's kind of the way we approach things. We are, at our heart, we are a video management software, so we're managing that relationship with the cameras, the database, the recordings. We work with the NVRs, all of the different camera manufacturers as well. So, but where we take it a step further is with the real-time event management from virtually every security device. So whether it be analytics, both native Arteco analytics or third-party analytics, even done at the edge, for example. Intrusion alarms, fire alarms, anything that can come through a generic panel through Contact ID can be pulled into Arteco and tied to video. Access control, which is why we're here to talk today. Traffic management, building automation. The list goes on and on. Now we have facial recognition. So a lot of different types of third-party and partner companies that we work with. So, but as I was saying, the reason we're here today is to focus on our partnership with access control. And ZKAccess has really embraced, the concept of what we call Open Connector. And Open Connector we'll talk about a little bit more when I come back, but Open Connector is basically an XML or CGI portal into our system where we can exchange metadata with third-party systems. So in the case of ZKAccess, we're actually pulling in all of the credentialing. We can color code that event. We can tie cameras to it. It's bi-directional communication. So if we want to lock down a door, open a door, trigger an output, pull up ZK's web-based software, which Larry will speak about in depth, we can pull all of that directly from the Arteco Next interface. So, as we like to say in security, for a long time we said every camera has a purpose. It's something you care about. So let's focus on what's important to the camera and ignore everything else. Now we say every device has a purpose, and it's something you care about ultimately for your security profile. So if we can focus in on that, give you video verification, give you a nice and easy to use platform, it's a win-win all the way around. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Larry, and I will be as I said, I will be back here shortly.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Again, everyone, thank you for joining us. My name is Larry Reed, and I'm CEO of ZKAccess. And as Steve pointed out, first and foremost, please bear in mind both ZKAccess and Arteco, we are international companies with a global footprint. So no matter where you are in the world, most likely you will find Arteco or a ZK office in your backyard. So if we can go to the next slide. Who is ZKAccess? Well, we're the security division of ZKTeco. ZKTeco is our parent company and the world's largest manufacturer of biometric and RFID-based solutions. And our two most popular applications are, one is time and attendance. We're the world's largest biometric time clock manufacturer. And then, of course, physical security, where you'll find us securing doors and gates and elevators and that kind of stuff. We can go to the next slide, please. So here's our global footprint, and pretty much lines up with Arteco. Arteco, as Steve mentioned, is a 30-year-old company. We're almost as over a 20-year-old company, and you can see how we've grown across the world. I manage the U.S. office here based in Fairfield, New Jersey, 25 global offices currently and always growing. Next, please. In addition to manufacturing, we also have 7 research and development labs throughout the world. The most recent one came online in Silicon Valley. That's our ZKID lab, where we're developing the next generation fingerprint sensors, which are incorporated into our fingerprint devices, as long as our face recognition devices, iris, palm vein, and so on. Next slide, please. So a little bit more about ZKAccess. Well, as mentioned, we are the world's largest manufacturer of biometric and RFID-based readers and solutions. Our installed base exceeds 30 million units. We have the world's largest biometrics manufacturing facility. In fact, we have several facilities out in East Asia. We have over 75 patents, over 3,000 employees, and as mentioned, 25 global offices. Currently, I manage the U.S. operation. So why choose ZKAccess? Well, first and foremost, we have an extremely comprehensive product line. They range from RFID-based solutions to biometric solutions. We even have license plate recognition solutions. So whenever anyone asks us what's new, you can always come to ZKAccess. We'll tell you what's new. In addition to that, we're also 50% less expensive than all our competitors. So our partners have a lower price solution and make much higher profit margins than by working with our other competitors. As mentioned, we have very unique selling features from biometrics to license plate recognition. We're securing gates and elevators, turnstiles, you name it. We have very, very responsive technical support conveniently located in New Jersey that handles the entire United States as well as our other offices. And we have many, many stocking distributors, but for those who don't have stock, we also have stock in our own headquarters here in New Jersey also. So availability, never an issue. Next slide, please. So customers often scratch their heads trying to figure out how can ZKAccess be half the price of our competitors. And simply put, it's our economies of scale. We sell over 400,000 units a month worldwide. We have 7 SMT lines, so we rock and roll when it comes to production. In addition to that, we're quite unique in that we make everything ourselves. A lot of access control vendors today, well, they're either hardware vendors that are reselling third-party software, or they're software companies reselling third-party hardware. So not only are they reliable to those third parties for availability and interoperability, they also have to purchase those products, mark them up, and by the time you purchase them, they've been marked up several times over. Well, ZKAccess, we make everything ourselves, so you don't get caught up in all that markup. So that's the reason why we're half the price. So if we have a look at our product line consists of panels, which the previous slide touched upon, where we have traditional RFID-based access control panels. However, we also have biometric panels, and that's an industry first. No one in the industry has ever been able to have a biometric panel. All competitors usually require a very expensive, large footprint fingerprint reader at the door. Well, ZK has the world's first and only biometrics panel, which can also read RFID cards. And of course, we also have our software. Now, in addition to the panels and the software, the slide you're currently looking at, those are the available readers. We have a combination of slave reader options as well as standalone. For slave readers, you can have your traditional RFID readers, which can read HID 125 kilohertz or EM 125 kilohertz, many different bit formats. And in addition to that, we also have RFID slave readers. And then we also have standalone readers where perhaps if you just want a real fast, inexpensive installation, you don't want to have to run wire to a controller, well, all our standalone readers have built-in controllers. So you can take a ZK reader, whether it's an RFID reader or a fingerprint reader or a face reader, it doesn't really matter. All of our standalones have direct relay contacts that could be wired to the door lock. And most all of them also have a keypad and display, so you don't even need a computer. Typically, you can program and enroll everyone on the reader itself. So with the Pro Series, we have our panels, our software, we have our standalone readers, and of course, I mentioned we have our software. And a quick glimpse at the capabilities of the software. We have traditional access control, but we also have third-party video linkage so that we can have cameras now triggering events within our logs before they're export to Arteco and vice versa. We also secure elevators. We have visitor management. We could also do badging. In addition to the cameras, we also have third-party VMS integration, as mentioned with Arteco. It's direct, in addition to license plate recognition. So if we could move forward through the presentation, you'll excuse me for a moment, I went backwards by accident. Advance one more slide. Let's have a close look at the panels, if you would. So it all starts with our C3 Pro panel. And this is pretty much a traditional RFID-based panel. It has configurations where you could connect up to 1, 2, or 4 doors, and they're all IP-based. So if you have 100 doors, you can simply purchase 25 units of our 4-door model. And it stores up to 30,000 card holders. So this is traditional access control, no different than what most of you are all using. So there's no learning curve when you move to the C3 Pro. If I could go to the next slide, please. Here's where it gets really cool. This is our InBio Pro. Not only does it match traditional card-based systems, but it also can match fingerprints, and that's where it's unique. Now you have a traditional RFID-based access controller that also can store and match fingerprints, up to 20,000 fingerprints. That's the power of this controller. Instead of having large footprint, expensive standalone readers at the door, with InBio Pro, you could use very inexpensive, small slave fingerprint readers at the door because all the matching, all the processing occurs on the panel. So this is an industry first, extremely powerful, and just one example of the many innovations at ZK. In addition, it also can store and match 30,000 cards. As mentioned, it supports various different readers. They're all weakened, whether it supports an RFID reader or a fingerprint reader. It could support our own ZKAccess readers or third-party readers. Next slide, please. And here's some tools we've made it real simple for installations because a lot of the times with software, the challenge is, of course, getting the software installed and configured, and sometimes customers will requisition the installer a computer, but sometimes those computers could be very old, they don't have the necessary processing or memory, so what we often recommend to our installers, you want to have a controlled environment. So ZK has the InBridge. The InBridge has the ZK software preloaded. So the installer simply just plugs this into the customer's network. They make a note of the IP address of the InBridge, and then they can manage the software remotely, either from their home office or the corporate office, from the client site. All our software is browser-based. So we always recommend purchase an InBridge so you can ensure you have a controlled environment and you won't have to worry about not having sufficient processing or perhaps conflicting applications. We also introduced Power over Ethernet, because sometimes running power can be cost prohibitive. You have to have a licensed electrician. You have to run the wiring. With PoE, of course, you could just tap the customer's existing PoE switch. So now we have PoE to the controller, no longer the need to run direct power cables. Next slide, please. And for those customers, they might have locations or perhaps like a school campus or a factory setting where buildings are very, very far apart, or perhaps running network cable is cost prohibitive or impossible based on the material of the walls. If they're, they're steel walls or concrete, you don't want to do drilling or you don't want to be snaking cables, well, we have a wireless solution. We have a wireless bridge. It provides up to 300 feet in its standard configuration, or we have boosters that can get you up to a mile. But now you can have door controllers, gate controls upwards to 300 feet or maybe a mile away from the network. And now with our wireless bridge, you can now access that. So with the Pro Series readers, let's have a closer look at the readers part of the Pro Series. The first one is an RFID reader. It's our KR500H. And this reads HID procs. So whereas before you had to go to HID directly when their patent still existed, now that their patent has expired, you now have a reader that can read 125 kilohertz and much less expensive. So please do come to ZKAccess if ever you have the need to read HID proximity cards. Next slide, please. Next in the Pro Series lineup, we have the Pro RFT. And this is a combination fingerprint reader and prox card reader and PIN code reader. So you got 3 credentials built into one reader. It additionally has a camera so that when you authenticate to the reader, you'll also have your photograph embedded with that log of you accessing the door. So if you authenticate with a card and you try using someone else's card, you'll have the actual face of the person authenticating to the door. Next slide, please. Whereas the Pro RF was a fingerprint reader, we now have the Pro Capture, which is fingerprint, PIN code, and now, prox card, PIN code, and now we introduce fingerprint. So whereas the previous reader was prox only, you now have with Pro Capture a fingerprint reader. So that's 3 credentials that you can use in one reader. You can combine all 3 to make it very secure, or just use any one of the 3 and make it very convenient. The next in the Pro Series reader lineup is the Pro Bio, whereby we still have fingerprint, we still have proximity card, we still have PIN code. Now we've introduced face recognition, because fingerprint readers aren't necessarily good with all demographics. You may have heard cases where fingerprints are hard to read, cuts, scrapes, scratches, very old people. In certain environments like machine shops where you've got a lot of debris and in the atmosphere, perhaps obscuring the fingerprint, face recognition is very powerful. Especially if you consider with face recognition, you don't need to use your hands. So the Pro Bio is actually true hands-free access control at the door. Next slide, please. Another multi-biometric is our Impulse Plus, whereas we can now combine the fingerprint with the finger vein. In some cases, the environment is not conducive for face recognition. Perhaps if you need an outdoor installation, or the reader needs to be too close to a window where light could be cast on the face and shadows may occur, well, that makes reading a face difficult. In the case of the Impulse Plus, you now are combining fingerprint plus finger vein, because vein pattern recognition is probably the most powerful, the most reliable means of biometric authentication. So the Impulse Plus, very unique, being able to read fingerprints and finger veins, in addition to prox cards and PIN codes. So there you've got 4-factor authentication. Let's now have a look at the ZKBioSecurity software. Very, very powerful, as mentioned before. Features include access control, video linkage to third-party cameras like Hikvision or Dahua or Henvan. We have elevator control. It's very important. Once someone accesses the front door of a multi-floor building, you want to be able to secure the floors as well. You don't want someone just running up and down, running amok. We also have visitor management capability. We have badging with third-party printers, and we also have VMS integration. So having a much detailed look at the software, the most powerful aspect of the ZKBioSecurity software is its scalability. It supports up to 8,000 doors. So this applies just about any environment you could possibly imagine, 8,000 door support. It includes very powerful advanced features you'll see in some of the other companies that have been in the market for 40, 50 plus years. We have a typical zone control, or who's inside for mustering, because you want to know who's inside the building, who remains during the times of an emergency. Also, of course, global anti-passback. You don't want people sneaking in behind one another or sharing cards and that kind of thing. As mentioned, we also have video software integration. And what's unique about the Arteco is it's absolutely direct. You don't need any middleware or third party. However, if you have another VMS solution, we do have middleware that allows the VMS and the access control to come together. So that's our Pro Series of panels, readers, and software. And now the next evolution of VMS, the next evolution of access control is how do you bring it all together? And we've found most security administrators are spending their time with their VMS systems. So that's the power behind Arteco. They are now able to draw upon all the ZKAccess control logs, pull them into their software, so now they've got reporting and control capabilities. So a very, very powerful solution, an integrated solution, and I'll give the mic back to Steve, and he can continue.
Thank you, Larry. Sorry, I was muted there for a second.
Sure.
I'm going to skip over the slide, no problem. Okay, so yeah, and very, very fascinating stuff there. You know, just a great product, and you know where we've really excelled, I think, is in this partnership is with the integration, and I have to say, you know, ZK has done an amazing job. The partnership between our technical departments has been phenomenal. So what I want to talk a little bit about is kind of the benefits of having, you know, your access control and video security on an integrated platform. So, you know, first and foremost, as with any open connector, it's a unified security platform. So you're not, you know, you oftentimes, if you've been in, you know, alarm centers, control rooms, you know, these operators are tasked with so many different responsibilities and duties, and what we can do with this type of system is pull them into one screen. You know, let's never give them a reason to be looking away from that software, from the video security and the access control. All of the setup, everything is still done on the ZKAccess side, but inside Arteco you can access their ZKBio software. So you can do that directly from your open connector window. Your access control events are time synced. So in our alarm panel, you're going to have a very specific alarm from ZKAccess. It'll have the credentials of that person in the alarm. You can double click on that event and pull up all of the information. So it's also, you know, powerful and comprehensive search tool. So what we can do with this is in our search environment, we can search by name across multiple locations or multiple doors inside the same location and get returns with video verification of every time someone's entered or left the building. And you can do that. So the same way you're searching video now, you can now go back and you can search for the access control alarm. So, you know, it's all badge swipes and access control system level events are stored and searchable. So it's really just an extension of the video platform. Not only can we search for the video, but we can also search by the access control event, and both of those two things are linked together. We can also run reports inside Arteco by device, by site, or by operator ranking, and that extends to any of the events that are coming in from ZKAccess. So if you want to run a real-time report over a specific time period, and you just want to isolate out specific events from ZKAccess, you can do that all within the same software. So, you know, obviously, you know, it's not just the communication, but it's the connection between the two devices that is so important. When we talk about open connector, we're actually getting, you know, real-time information from that system. So, you know, the integration of the access control and the video surveillance is something that's very important to the industry because we're looking for a converged platform. You know, the more stuff you can pull in a single platform, you're giving situational awareness. We can tie that in on the mapping interface and get those real-time alerts. Okay. Larry touched on this, and I just want to kind of reiterate it, is, you know, with ZKAccess and Arteco from a partnership, obviously, you know, he works with, you know, ZKAccess is working with other VMS platforms, Arteco is working with other access control platforms. But with this integration platform, we have a very innovative approach to the market. We do give you that global reach. We're doing events like this all over the country. This is a national webinar, a global webinar. but we are doing, road shows. So you're probably getting that information out in emails. If you'd like to hear more about that, obviously reach out. But I can't focus enough that this is a collaboration, and to get the true powerful converged platform, it really does require the collaboration, and they've been excellent to do that. So I want to take just a quick look at the software itself. So the way we're doing this is through Open Connector. So Open Connector is, as I was saying, it's like a blank canvas for integration. I can tie any element from whether it be a camera or a web-based software, or in this case, the access control. So if I want to open a door, lock down a door, trigger an output, I can pull all that information into one common platform. You'll also note on the software itself, in the mapping interface, which is in this main window in the middle, you have indicators on the map, whether that be a finger scan reader, or maybe it's a card entry, or maybe it's a facial recognition. All of those things that Larry was pointing out in the ZK platform, all of those things can be indicated on your map interface. So all I need to do is hover over that, and I pull up the window, which we see on the right, which is the credentials of the person who came through. So you can add multiple cameras, I/O triggers, door controls, and that's per Open Connector. So if you want to have a camera on the inside and the outside, you can do that. You can access the ZKBioSecurity directly from inside the Arteco VMS client. That's just hovering over the window right here. So I can pull that up. We talked about this, that you have the ability to search events by name, time, date, single or multiple locations. And Larry pointed out that they were recognized by Security Sales and Integration magazine as well as the 30 top technology innovations of 2016. So is Open Connector. So this really is a combined winning solution. There's been other things that we've been recognized for, but that's particularly one that we're very proud of because this is a very innovative way of pulling in third-party information. Speaking specifically about the ZKAccess platform, one thing that I really want to emphasize is, not only, as Larry pointed out, we're global and we have offices around the world, and a lot of times we have ZK and Arteco have offices in the same countries, but we also have common distribution channels, and that's something that's very important. We work with common distributors who are very forward with this technology, and you'll be hearing a lot more about the different events that we're doing throughout the country. So there's a simple pricing structure. Okay, you can have all of these great things, but if the pricing is difficult, if it's difficult to install, if it's difficult to use, unfortunately things just don't get used. So we set out to make this a very, very practical and easy approach to business. So basically you're just going on the total number of devices. So if you have 1 to 30 ZK devices, there's one charge. If you have 31 to 100, there's one charge. Or if you have 101 or more, there's one charge. So one product code based on the total numbers. And basically that's just allow you to pull in the integration with ZKAccess. So it's a very easy, very fast and easy approach to it. The nice thing about the ZKAccess integration, for those of you who are aware of our different levels of software, we have our entry point into the VEMS, which is called eMotion. We have Active, which is our mid-range professional line, where you start to get a lot of the, the active, what I call the active features of the product, whether it be the mapping interface, the real-time alert notifications, the trespassing analytics. All of those are included in the active level. And then you have our Extreme line, which is our enterprise line. And basically our Extreme line is if you ever have any advanced needs for recordings, maybe you need edge-based recording, you need failover, you need a hot backup or hard drive failover, any of those types of things at the enterprise level are included in the Extreme software. The nice thing about the ZKAccess integration is it works at any level of our software. So if you're coming in at the eMotion level, the ZKAccess, there's no reason why you can't have the integration with that. So we're not reserving that for an enterprise integration, which is what you'll see with a lot of VMS platforms. The other great thing about it is you can actually use the Arteco software with ZKAccess installation as a supervisor client, even without video. So it's even possible to be using this, if you want to use the mapping interface, if you want to have the real-time event notifications and the credentialing all tied in. Obviously, we want you to have video security as well, but you're not precluded from using it if you're not having video security licenses. So that's another thing that just makes it very practical and very easy for the customers. So okay, and with that, we will now switch over to a live demonstration of the ZKAccess software working in tandem in a converged platform with Arteco. So I'm just going to escape out of this PowerPoint presentation. And right now what you can see is we're looking at a live view of the software. The nice thing about the way this is organized is any of our third-party integrations fall under what we call peripherals. So that could be a web device. So if we just want to pull in a third-party web-based software into Arteco with a HTTP address, we can save it in there. If we want to pull in any of our integrations with access control or POS or anything of that nature, it's going to fall under peripherals. So we can see if we look down here, we have ZKAccess. Now, in our main viewing grid, we're in our live mode right now. You can see there's live recording and setup, so very 3 unique environments. And we'll take a look at just the live and the recording at this stage. So in the live view, obviously we have a mapping interface that we're pulling in. So if we want to tie that to cameras, we can look at cameras, we can move PTZs, for example. We can play back the last hour of video. This PTZ is on a tour right now, so it's kind of going back and forth. Or we have our different types of icons that we can pull in for the different integrations that we're using. So for example, this is the ZKAccess, and I always know that I'm tied to that icon because you can see there's a little line that pops up that shows that that's where that icon is linked to. Inside, I have the metadata for the person who came through, so their image as well as what type of device they were using from a ZKAccess standpoint. So we can see this was a fingerprint read, the date and the time of the reading. I also have these other elements. So this is that blank canvas approach to open connector that we were talking about. So if I want to see what cameras were tied in there, and obviously I can go full screen. If I want to see what cameras were tied in there, I can do that. We also have the ability to keep in mind we treat any of our devices, our peripherals, just like we would a camera or a map. So I can drag and drop those directly onto the grid space. So just to show you that, I'm going to unlink this connector here. And I'll go over to ZKAccess, and I can just drag that over and drop it right in. So it works really just like a camera inside the platform. You can scroll through, so if you want to see multiple different readings of who's come through, you can do that by just scrolling up and down, clicking on the up and down buttons. It is also bi-directional, as we talked about earlier in the presentation. So if I want to link an output, turn on an alarm, or if I want to lock down a door, for example, I can do that directly right here. So let's just look at some of these events, and I'll show you what an event looks like when it comes in. I have some down here at the bottom. The events obviously are color-coded, so if we want to pull those events in to see the events coming from multiple different types of things, we can do that. Well, let me just trigger an event here. Okay, so we'll take a look at one of these ZKAccess alarms. Oops, let me just get back up to the top. That's what I did. There we go. So all I need to do is just double click on that event, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all of those elements that were tied in to the security alarm are all going to show up inside my event panel. So I have access to the ZKBioSecurity software. So if I want to sign into the ZKBioSecurity software, I can do that directly from here. I can bookmark the event for easy recovery at a later stage. I can set priority levels, so if I want to make this a high priority or a medium priority event, and I can add a note. So this was for our demo purpose. When I hit enter, that's going to ask me if I want to save that note, and it's going to go, I say yes, and that puts it in with my username and a timestamp of when I did that. You can also have multiple information saved in that event. So for emergency procedure, for example, if I want my operators to do something when this alarm comes up, you can have that information on who to call or what steps to take for that particular event. So that is how we would review it in the live view. Now I'm going to take you over and take a look at from a recording standpoint. And there's a few different ways we can search for recordings. Obviously, we can either do just an auto search that's going to play back the last hour, last 12 hours, last 7 days. But the whole point of video and event management software is being able to pull in events, give you that situational awareness. So very quickly what I can do is, notice I still have my device list on the left side. If I double click on that ZKAccess alarm, I go down to my year, my day, and I come down to, let's just go back to the 26 here. And you can see what it's going to do is in my event log, it pulls up all of my ZKAccess alarms that came in that day. So if I want to review those, all I need to do is, let's make this a little bit smaller so we can see better. I'm just going to double click on this John Smith and come in. And we see, once again, we have access to the ZKBio software. We have the video of John coming in through. He's doing his fingerprint reader. And we also have his credentials, which are tied in right here. You can tie multiple cameras to this. So if you want a camera on the inside of the door and the outside of the door, you can definitely do that. But let's say we want to know, we're curious about this John Smith fellow, and we want to know, for the last, let's say, last 7 days, we want to know just how often John Smith has come through here. So we're going to change this to manual. We're going to do the last 7 days. I'm going to choose check peripherals, which is where ZKAccess would fall under. And I'm just going to type in John and hit search. Oops, apologize. I did not choose my one thing. Okay, just have to choose ZKAccess. And now, what we see down in our event log is only the events containing John, or the word John, and John Smith. Obviously, he's the only John in this system. But we can see, dating back over the last week, how many times John's come through this door, what times of the day he comes through, what days of the week he comes through. So once again, we're getting a forensic search. And the beauty of the Open Connector system is once the customer learns how to do this with one third-party application, it's going to translate to any of the other device searches that they might do, whether that be license plate recognition, or it might be facial recognition, or whatever type of device that's pulling in these events tied to individuals or vehicles. The other nice thing about this is if I have multiple ZKAccess connectors, so multiple doors, keep in mind this is just one door, I can search across many doors at the same time or multiple buildings at the same time. So it really does give you that ability to go in and give you nice, customized, very easy to use search capabilities around these events. And as I was saying, it's bi-directional. You still have access to the live cameras even inside the recordings. So it really just gives you a lot of flexibility as far as what you can do. So with that, I'm going to go back out to the live view. And if you would like to learn more about the setup, we do technical trainings online twice a month. And you can go to our website under Arteco Academy on arteco-global.com. If you go to Arteco Academy, you can see where you can register for those trainings.
I believe with that, I wanted to kind of open up and back to Rihanna and see if we have any questions.
Great. Thank you, Steve. And I just want to remind everyone that if you would like to ask a question, please go ahead and you can write it in the control panel that is in the GoToWebinar interface. While we're waiting for some more questions to come in, I did want to let everyone know that if you're in the Dallas area next week, we are hosting a lunch and learn event where you can see this integration in person. So please feel free to reach out to us for more information on that. The details are also on the Arteco website. And it looks as though we have a few questions. Let me take a look here. This is to both of you, Steve and Larry. Both of you just mentioned facial recognition, and obviously, Larry, that's part of one of your solutions. What do you see as the future of facial recognition in terms of adoption across different markets, and what role will it play in both company solutions moving forward?
Yeah, sure. Great question. We actually believe face recognition will be the prevalent technology in the years to come. Fingerprint recognition, it's still very accurate. However, if anyone has had past dealings, they know that if you've got cuts, scrapes, scratches, or if the user is not trained properly, sometimes fingerprint recognition is not as reliable as we would like it to be. Fingerprint recognition also requires that the users are in physical contact with one of the devices before they can be enrolled. And the beauty behind face recognition is you no longer have anything on the surface interfering with capturing your face. Cuts, scrapes, scratches, that kind of thing is eliminated. In addition to that, in the very near future, you can actually just use photographs of people for face matching. And the next version of smartphones, you're now going to see face recognition now built into them, so that instead of the fingerprint sensor, you can now take a picture or utilize a picture on your phone and now authenticate to your phone to access the information and photos and all the other information you have on your phone. So absolutely, we see face recognition as the next emerging and probably the prominent means of authentication in the near future. We do have multi-biometric units so that our users will always have the choice whether they wish to authenticate with a finger or a face or a palm vein or the other biometric methodologies. But the nice part to the installer is the reader, though, is using the same really 40-year-old technology that today's readers use, in that as soon as you authenticate, whether it's by a PIN code or a face or a finger, two things happen. You either open up a relay contact that opens up a door, or you send a weak and output signal to a panel. Those are the two things. It doesn't matter if you're using a 30-year-old keypad reader or using an advanced iris reader. Only those two things occur. So the wiring is the same, the power is the same, the network protocol is the same. Everything is the same, so there's nothing to worry about complexity. And after that authentication occurs, well, that user's ID information is then output to our logs, which then gets forwarded to the Arteco interface, and then you can manage your video, you can manage your access control, so it all comes together real nice through the Arteco interface.
Thanks, Larry. I'll add to that. Historically, facial recognition has always been something, that our customers have asked for. Dating back for the last 10 years or so, and to be honest, our answer has always been that we really don't want to develop something that's 50% accurate, and that was really kind of the state of the art. We've seen tremendous advances in facial recognition over the past few years, and we're seeing accuracy ratings in the 80 and 90%. So we really wanted to bring on this technology because, as Larry said, it is a very emerging technology, and I think although it's been around for a while, I think it was kind of ahead of the curve a little bit, ahead of its own time from a functionality standpoint. So we really see from the what we can do inside Arteco with facial recognition is an extension of what we're doing through things like ZKAccess. It's that authentication. Now we can search across multiple locations. We can search inside a time period. We can see on the event itself, we can see what that accuracy reading is, and if it's a verified match or an unverified match. So I mean, the technology has come a long way. It's no longer using 2D mapping. It's using 3D mapping, to get better accuracy ratings. And I think in the future, the question was also, where do we see that coming into play. I think there's a huge opportunity, not just in the security world, but also from a marketing standpoint. And I think that we'll see, a lot of this, transition where security can kind of have a support role and hopefully a financial share from a budget standpoint to put in these types of products, because the marketing will be able to pull much more biometric data on the types of customers. And for example, would be like a membership only type store, large retail like a Costco or a Sam's Club, where they can get very good data on their members who are coming into those applications. And then on top of that, now we're running converged reporting mechanisms where we can tie that into your point of sale and your facial recognition and the people counting coming in and out of the application. All of that's moving in this direction of marketing research.
Thanks, Steve and Larry. Appreciate that. And actually, Steve, you answered a bit of our second question, which is, we've talked about how the Converge platform helps enhance security intelligence, but how does it enhance business intelligence as well? And obviously talked about the retail and the marketing aspect. Are there any other aspects of business intelligence that either of you feel that this sort of platform can help drive?
Yeah. Well, Rihanna, as Steve pointed out, if you look in retail, where it's so competitive nowadays, especially when you've got brick and mortars now competing with online companies like Amazon and Alibaba and so on. So providing the best possible user experience is really what it's all about. And upon face recognition, when you have a customer walk into your store, your cameras immediately recognize, the store people or the floor people are notified, their profile pops up, their buying habits. It really gives the shoppers a real warm experience that the salespeople really understand them, they know their preferences, and they can have a very pleasant experience and get in and out of the store quickly. So that's how it's enriching business from a retail perspective, all about the customer and improving their user experience.
Well, and just to kind of take a little bit different direction, I mean, I think, how it improves, is the Converge platform, how it's improving things is basically through operational efficiency. If you're searching on a Converge platform, I'm tying in all of these elements from, multiple different things and presenting it, that situational awareness much faster. And that's, one of the things, I love about Arteco is the ability to take what has historically been, very advanced and premium, or let's just say, dedicated to a very high-end part of the market, and take those concepts and really make them, one, economically viable for a much wider audience, two, much easier to use, so that they can take advantage of these different types of technologies. And that's what we're seeing with, with the ZKAccess integration. We're seeing that with the facial recognition. We're seeing that with license plate recognition. All these things that, just 5 years ago would have only been held, made available to a very enterprise level customer, are now being utilized by just about any customer that is interested in it.
Great. Well, actually, this is a great question, because we kind of just discussed the end user perspective. So the next question is, again, Converge platform, the combination of ZK and Arteco, how does it ease installations for the integrator community? And secondarily, on top of that, how can this help them open up new business opportunities and revenue streams?
For sure.
You want to kick that one off, Steve?
Yeah, I would love to. So I mean, I see it in multiple different ways. From a ease of use, from an integration standpoint, one, you think about from just pure training. Once it's set up, they're really pulling everything in through one platform. So rather than going in and saying, okay, I'm an integrator, I'm giving you an entire platform here. And now we're going to train you on all these different softwares, and you have to have different monitors and all these different things. You're from the onset, you're giving them, really one viewpoint or one perspective that ties it in. So from a training aspect, it's actually very easy and very straightforward for the customer. And from a business opportunity standpoint, like Larry said, both of us have been in the market for a number of years now, and we've really catered to some vertical market crossover. We would be happy to share that with you as well. Or some verticals that maybe neither one of us are one of us is strong in and the other isn't. This is an opportunity to go back to all of those customers and present a converged platform. If you have Arteco, but maybe you're thinking about updating your access control system, or you have ZKAccess and you're looking for more control over your video and your access control tied together. And we have just for an example a major independent school district that has been with Arteco for a number of years, and since this product has launched, since the Open Connector has launched, is now gone back and is retrofitting all of their sites with the access control platform from ZKAccess. So that in itself is presenting new opportunities, and I think there's really it's such a visual product, and I think if we're always available to help get in front of it, get in front of the customer with you as well.
Yeah, and Stephen, and just to bring together everything you just described, from the end user's perspective, obviously you now have one consolidated platform where you can do all your video event management, access management, all from a single interface. So that's the benefit to the end user. But to the installer, you've now differentiated yourself. You're now offering an integrated solution, whereas most traditional installers, they're just dealing with one vendor at a time and then trying as best they can to piece it together. And then the burden usually falls on the end user to have to manage multiple platforms. But with the Arteco ZKAccess integration, now the installer has differentiation. They can now come forward with an integrated solution that their other competitors most likely don't have. And then again, the end user has the time savings and the simplicity of a universal platform for managing both access and video events. So it really is a win-win, the integration that we've provided.
That's great. It looks like we've covered all of our questions, and thanks to both of you for providing insight on those items. Is there anything else that either of you wanted to cover before we wrap up?
Again, I just want to emphasize, and there's so much technology out there and so many vendors and so many people just trying to really basically say the same thing. Differentiation is so critical. So a lot of our installers, some of them are okay. They have a body of business and they're soon to retire. But if they want to have longevity in their business, if they've got kids taking over, if they really want to get into the next decades, they're going to have to start differentiating themselves and learning more. And I can't tell you there's nothing more simple, faster to learn than using an integrated solution from ZK and Arteco, and it's a real nice differentiator. So it's very much worth a little bit of time to become familiar with the solution, because from the installer's perspective, you're definitely going to stand out from your competitors.
Yes, I agree with everything that Larry just said. Also, just want to reiterate, we are doing live events in different parts of the country, as Rihanna mentioned. We have one coming up next week in Dallas. And if you get a chance, it's a great event to come out, get to see everything live and in person. And of course there's a nice lunch waiting for you as well. So we really look forward to meeting you out there. If you have any questions, please reach out. Happy to do a WebEx with you at any time. And we'll be we're ready. Anyone who knows Larry's always available as well. So
we're here.
Wonderful. Well, as I mentioned at the beginning of today's webinar, we'll be sending a recorded version out for you. That version will also include a recorded demo of Arteco software, so that'll be something new to see. But again, I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and if you have any further questions, please reach out to us. But in the meantime, thank you again, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
And bye for now.
Bye.